following is a Comfortably Zoned Radio Network production.
All right, welcome to this week's Duke's Court. We're going to go into baseball mode here as opening day is only a couple weeks away here. The third consecutive snow-fested opening day, I project. And I'm here with Gary, the franchise, Kinn. We're going to be here with Chris. Oh, you're going to like this. Little Louie. Chris Little Louie Fletcher.
Who's talking? I want to know who's talking.
And I'm going to be Dave Cha-Cha Finoli.
Oh, very nice.
Can you tell me where those names come from?
Well, Cha-Cha's going to give me a little look at Orlando Cepeda, I would believe.
Very good. Very good. And who's the franchise? Several men are the franchise, but I'm picking one from a baseball list.
A franchise?
It would make Danny Russell happy, is your hint.
Oh. It's not Louis, not Pujols, is it?
Theft. Theft is your last hint.
Oh, Lou Brock.
Lou Brock.
I didn't realize they
And now, Fletch, who is Little Louie?
I'm going to say Luis Aparicio.
Oh, 2 for 3, my friend. 2
Yeah,
for 3. Outstanding.
I was thinking about that one, yeah. He was
Outstanding.
sensational. I saw him at the end of his career. He was sensational to watch out there. He was.
Oh, man. Little Louie or Louis Aparicio?
Aparicio. I mean, well,
you've never seen Fletch play wiffle
ball
ball.
too, but
That's sensational in its own right.
I can make that ball dance, fellas.
He can. He can. I got to tell you, I was watching. You ever watch the Michael Simon Burgers, Brews, and
I love
whatever
it.
the hell he? Oh, it's a great show. It's a great cured catfish. Maybe want to cure bacon. You guys ever cure bacon?
by what?
I have not, but that sounds beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh man,
Yeah.
your Patty has cured bacon.
She has. I mean, well, I'm lucky that way. I met her. When I knew you guys, I weighed 145 pounds, and I met her. And
I thought you were going to say when you knew us guys, she was curing bacon in towers.
Well, she used to make these amazing steak sandwiches with like a turned over egg and cheese and all kind. It was like me. You guys, did you guys know Joe Nardone when we were out there?
Yes, I remember Joe Nardone.
A friend with a friend of Patty's, like Rika Barbati. Do you remember her, Fletch?
Yes.
And we used to hang out a lot, together. And Joe was a good dude. I think he was from up north. He was up your way somewhere, Beaver Falls, maybe.
Yes, he was.
Yeah, and we had a good time. And Patty especially can really cook. So yeah, I mean, I blew up 30 pounds. Like I come back and my father says to me, "What the hell are you doing? I mean, you can't be drinking that much beer." So I said, "No." I met somebody that can actually cook for a change. So where I was.
And she eventually would cure bacon, which you have somebody at that.
She can pretty much do anything you ask her to do that way. I can't do anything, but she can do everything when it comes to that stuff.
Well,
Here's my
you.
feeling, guys. Some people think that there needs to be a cure for the common cold. I say the cure should be for bacon. And that's what
spot on. There is no better bacon than your own bacon.
I'm sure that.
I just got to tell you.
You guys are in a good meat city, too, so you guys are lucky that way. So, good meat out there.
Well, with opening day coming, and I don't have a laydown of the new ballpark food yet. Hoping some bacon in there. It's just wild. Two opening days in a row, swirling snow at that stadium. And let me tell you, gentlemen, there's a big difference between going to Heinz Field with 70,000 people jammed in an enclosed stadium with swirling snow, and that nothing protecting you opening in PNC Park. Maybe it's just the thought of it shouldn't snow at baseball that makes you colder, but there is no worse feeling
I'll bet.
than being in a cold baseball game. Of course, the next night when they have 300 people.
Right. But that's not what the attendance will officially say, though.
It won't say that. No. But if the game's bad enough, you can count, as I've been known to do at times. More at Duquesne.
Or if you can hear the conversation in the section next to you. That's always a bad thing.
You know that's a problem. Oh, man.
Some of that here.
We'll talk a little about this Pirate team here. How it's going to start is, I'm going to be enthusiastic. Fletcher's going to tell me, come on. And then Gary's going to get a little bitter about the Phillies eventually. I just have a feeling. I have a feeling tonight. But let me tell you why I don't want to say I'm excited, because I don't think it's a playoff team. But I'll tell you why I think it's a team that can challenge for the playoffs and win 84, 85 games. Right now, to me, short of the Dodgers, they have the best starting rotation in the National League. Jameson Taillon last year, all of a sudden, everything we've heard about this guy for how many years came into play. He became a guy who can be an ace, and at 27 years old is just going to get better. He has just a fastball curve combo that's through the roof. And I'll tell you what, he mixes his pitches well, mixes his speeds well. He does everything that an ace should be. And, he has a good 3 or 4 pitches that just can be nasty as hell. So I think you start out with him. To me, Chris Archer, and admittedly he said, once he started listening to Francisco, he became a better pitcher with the Pirates, and that kind of showed down the stretch. I mean, he was a pretty dominant pitcher. Now here's a kid, here's a kid who, has been looked at as a potential breakout star in the game for so long. Admittedly, a little disappointing to me. Looking at his stats, the thing that is disappointing is his peripherals are good, his whips are good, but he has a penchant for leaving that one pitch up and giving up the home runs. 57 in his 2 previous years before last year. But when this kid keeps the ball down, and he kept the ball down the last 5, 6 starts of the year, he can have some devastating stuff. He has ace stuff. So you have potentially 2 aces to start that rotation. I think Musgrove, Trevor Williams. I mean, certainly I think he's a potential number 4 guy down the stretch, because I'm not sure he's going to be able to replicate a 1.29 ERA over the second half of the year. But this kid is a smart pitcher. He's a guy who can address. I mean, you recall at midseason, his ERA was hovering in the 4s, and he was about to be out of a job. And came back, took that as a challenge, got the ball down in the zone, had tremendous control, and was, could be arguably the best pitcher in the National League the second half of the year. It's tough to say somebody with a 1.29 ERA isn't the best pitcher in the National League, but, I mean, he was lights out.
And just think of what he would have been with some offensive support, Dave.
Oh, you are spot on, Fletch. I mean,
True.
You are absolutely spot on with that.
Always a lot of low-scoring games with him.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, he would have been incredible. And I mean, I think he's going to be a solid pitcher this year. I'm just not sure he has the stuff to continue that. Hopefully he does. I mean, when he got this stuff down in the zone, I mean, they couldn't get the ball up on him, and all of a sudden he became a ground ball pitcher. But when did it turn? Let me ask you this, guys. When did it turn that a guy that averages 93 miles an hour is considered not a fastball pitcher? When did that turn?
It's the last 10 years or more, I would say. It's
unbelievable.
Everybody wants a 6'6" guy that can throw at 98.
Yeah.
I don't agree with it, but clearly it's at least a decade or more, I think.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So with all this shifting, it kind of was concurrent with all this shifting and that stuff.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, Zane Smith didn't throw the ball hard enough to break a pane of glass, but you put him in between those guys 25 years ago, he was very effective.
He was, so, and I think that's part of what played off Williams. I think that's a great point.
Yep.
I think Musgrove showed me a little bit down the stretch. I think he's a number 4 guy. I don't know that he's ever going to be anything more than that, but he's a very good number 4 guy. And he proved that. Say what you want about Huntington, he thought a lot of this guy as a starter, forced him as a starter, even though his number said to put him in relief. and in the bullpen, and he was right. He came out to be a pretty solid starter. The disappointment in the off season is they didn't go for a number 5 guy. Keller just does not look like he's ready to come up at this point. And you're stuck with Jordan Lyles or Nick Kingham, who, probably in my eyes would be the guy I'd throw in there at this point. But Jordan Lyles is not exactly something that's going to be anything but the weak link of your rotation. But still, it's 1 through 4 are as solid as anybody. You got a bullpen that goes 4 deep with just a tremendous group. You look at this group. You start out with Rodriguez, who was just a stunner. And again, here's another guy who you wondered what the hell you had him for. And all of a sudden, he became pretty much a solid pitcher through the year. A 107 whip is pretty damn impressive for your number 4 guy. And he got control. He got the ball down, and he was pretty consistent throughout the year. You start out with him. Crick, to me, made that trade a win for. We all complained about the McCutchen trade, but McCutchen ended up in New York. And
yep.
What'd you say?
It was a good one.
Oh yeah, I thought we win that. And you go into the man who won't speak to the press this year, even though they never spoke to him before. In Kayla, who certainly has closer stuff, and you end it with Vasquez, who while he struggled at times last year, is still one of the better closers in the game. Anybody else you throw in that bullpen is going to be, Brault, I would think is the number 5 guy, and then you'll get a few mixed in there, but they're nothing more than long inning, eat up innings, give a guy a break kind of guys. But to me, that is why this team will contend. You basically have to have 5 strong innings from your starter, and that could pretty much just about end that game.
Yeah.
I think offensively, I think Bell will do better. It appeared as if they made a mistake last year. He swung the bat like he was trying to control. He was trying to control his swing a little more rather than being a power hitter, and that's not what you need from your first baseman. I think Frazier is going to be a more consistent hitter than Harrison, but I think he's just going to be as big a travesty defensively as Harrison was. I think Newman will probably get the spot going into the year at short. I think he's a better defensive player than Mercer. Down the road, this is what this offense is. It's a bunch of things that what if. Kramer has potential to be a better hitter than Mercer, but hasn't showed it yet. Jung has potential to hit 25 home runs, but's been out of the game for a long time. Chisenhall has potential to be a solid hitter, but again, has never had a full season. So that's the one thing that bothered me about this offense and not spending money when it appeared like you could buy a shortstop fairly cheap. You have a lot of guys that have a lot of upside, but they also could do what they did last year, and then you're in a lot of trouble offensively. I like what Dickerson did, but again, he's he lost the power. I would rather have a little more power out of him. Marte, I think, is going to personally surprise folks, and I think he's finally going to have himself the year that we always thought he could. And behind the plate, hopefully, in my eyes, Cervelli, who's a good leader, I hope he eventually bows into the back end, because I think Diaz has a better arm, has better potential defense, and certainly has more pop in his bat. But Fletch, you usually are the one to try to be the yin to my yang, and unfortunately, you're usually correct in the bottom line.
Well, I want to say I was tempted to not participate in this segment just in support of Kayla, but I've decided I'm going to go ahead and push through on this.
What's his issue? Did something happen? Just for a second, I didn't hear that. What's
nobody knows. He just came out one day and said he's not talking to the media this year. Nobody tried to talk to him.
Right, and the writer said, "I'm sorry, who are you?"
Yeah, what are you? What's your? Yeah, right. He was only there for 15 innings or something, wasn't he? I mean, geez.
Then they sat him for the rest of the year.
There were 15 very quiet innings, apparently, though.
Oh yeah, I mean, I wonder what the hell, who insulted him so bad? You know, Jesus.
I don't know. But
well, I'm going to surprise you a little bit, Dave, because I too am feeling pretty good about this team. I mean, the pitching. The pitching is a beautiful thing. I agree with you too. One more starter, but I think that the Kingdom is going to surprise some people. Trevor Williams, there's no way that he's going to have that kind of the kind of season he had the second half. But still, he knows how to pitch. The thing I like about it is Tyon is taking that leadership mantle, and he wants to be that ace. And he wants to step up, and he's working with these younger, the younger pitchers. And when a guy at that age wants to step up and is already trying to be a leader, that's a really positive thing. My concern is going to be the pop. I think Marte is going to have a big season, and this is going to be a strange thing for me to say in terms of one of the things I think is going to show that he's ready to step up. I've heard some interviews with him this spring. He's shooing away the interpreter. He's speaking English. He's trying to step up and be a leader of this team. And I think that the management, during the exit interview last year, they challenged him to do that, to be the team leader, because this was a team that really, with some of the leadership that Kutch provided and a few of the other veterans, they needed someone to step up.
Yeah.
I think that right field's going to be an issue at first. Polanco, we saw some better power numbers, but we also saw his batting average in the 250s for the fourth straight year. So who knows when he's going to be coming back to his full potential. So that's going to be a problem. Josh Bell is an enigma right now. Which Josh Bell are we getting? Are we getting rookie Josh Bell with some really strong power? Or are we getting let's try to drive the ball to the gap and not do it successfully, Josh Bell of his second year? So that's going to be interesting. Colin Moran, I'd like to see a little more pop out of my third baseman. Maybe it's just the way I was raised, but I like my corner infield positions to have some power. I think they're going to be better at shortstop. I mean, say what you want about Jordy Mercer. I mean, he was a steady guy. When he got to the ball, he made the plays. The problem was he just didn't get to the ball, and that's a problem.
Get to the ball often. Yeah.
You're going to lose a little bit of defense at second base. I mean, Harrison had more range, definitely, and he was a better defender, which I didn't think that Josh Harrison is going to win any Gold Gloves for you. But Adam Frazier, I think, is going to learn, but he's also going to hit 300 for you or close to. So I think that's going to be a big thing.
The Joe Orsolak of second base.
Yes, exactly. That's a really good way to put that. They also need to work. They work counts a lot, but they need to walk more. I mean, they were 22nd in the league in getting on base through the walk. And if you don't have power, if you don't have the home run power, you got to get guys on base. And you got to take advantage of that big left field out there and hit some gappers.
Right.
So, I look at them as winning 85, 86 games. I think they're going to be in it till the end. I think it's going to really – what's going to happen – we're going to have to see what happens with the other teams in the division. Milwaukee, I think, scares me a little bit. It's going to be interesting, too, because I think that in that division there's some managers on the hot seat. Despite winning a World Series, I think that Madden's on the hot seat, which I couldn't be happier about that, frankly. I think Hurdle's on the hot seat. I think this Pirate team has to show people something, or else he may be gone.
Yeah.
Yep. But I think it all adds up to a really interesting season. I think that if they can get off to a decent start and just hang around and develop what they have, I think that this team could surprise some people. So sorry, Dave, I can't rain on your parade this time.
I was going to say, we rarely have been copacetic with this over the last 30-some years. So this stuns me. But, the other thing, everybody's going the praises of the hitting coach and his approach. But you never know if this is just bullshit until you actually see a difference going forward. But I agree with you. You said it well when you said these guys just didn't get on base last year.
And that's okay if you're gonna hit a lot of home runs, you can get away with that. But if you're not, you got to get guys. You got to play some small ball too.
Right.
They've got to use some speed. Wouldn't it be fun to see a team like those '80s Astros teams or those St. Louis teams that had the speed and they played that base-to-base ball like that? I love that kind of baseball.
I agree with you. I agree 100% with you. I've often thought that if you're going to go cheap, that's where you need to go because the money's on the muscle. The money is not on the speedster. So,
right.
You want to keep guys in the system. You want to keep them inexpensively. That's where you go. So you make a great point with that. But I'm a little just stunned right now.
We can't be like Gary's team and spend a shitload of money.
Well, not Gary's team where Gary happens to live, but
Gary's geographic team. My bad.
Geographic location, perhaps. But, yeah.
Gary, you were talking when Harper was signed. You were making some very good points.
I can't stand the city. I mean, I live here, so if anybody's listening here that's my friend, they're probably done with me. But I just can't stand
the
them,
city. But not the city.
I mean, it's idiocy. I mean, I think the moves. Let me touch on a couple things with the Pirates, if I could, for 2 minutes, though, Dave, because maybe it's the Mutual Admiration Society, but I'm kind of agreeing with all of you. I mean, I think I say this, and I sound like a broken record. PNC is actually a pretty good pitcher's park. It makes your team
Absolutely.
a lot better. I mean, building a bandbox like the new Yankee Stadium or this piece of junk here or Memorial Stadium is dooming you to a lot of inconsistency in year-to-year performance for a lot of reasons. No foul territory, pitchers afraid to challenge if they're struggling, whatever. PNC is a pitcher's park, and the Pirates were an odd combination. They struck out fewer than anybody else, but they had very little power, and they don't run that much. It's a very odd combination. Yeah. But I do think that, I don't have a lot to add. I think the starting rotation has real potential to be good. I wouldn't be surprised if it's a little bit of a slow start because the other rest of the league has had a chance to look at these guys now for 6 months, what they're doing, what the pitch sequences are from Talion on down. I think there could be a little bit of a slow start, but I do think they've got quite a bit of talent there. Some of those guys can give you some innings, and it's a good combination of arms. And we're going to miss Nova's innings eating. Somebody's going to have to fill that gap. Musgrove's going to have to be healthier, perhaps. Maybe Williams is going to have to push a little more innings even than he did. Talion as well. One of these other guys, Kingham or somebody's going to have to step up a little bit in that fifth role. But a little bit concerned between them and getting to the four that you talk about, Dave. But, I mean, every team in the majors pretty much has that.
Right.
I mean, I think the issues to me are how seriously was Polanco injured? He kind of has a little tendency to look a little lazy. I don't know if that's true or not. But, you got that kind of injury, you better be pretty intense about coming back. He looks like electric some nights, and other nights he looks like he's in, his mind somewhere else. He's not even watching like a kid in midget league ball. But, I mean, he can come back fairly healthy fairly quickly. Chisenhall's just a gatekeeper, but he's a nice left-handed bat off the bench.
Yeah.
I think Hurdle messed up. If Hurdle messed up one thing, it was probably Bell. He's not a leadoff man. I don't want him hitting second either. I mean, I do want him to try to drive the ball a little bit more. Just leave him alone. I'm not sure he's a four-hitter. He might be a six, but just leave him alone. Let him be natural. His fielding needs some help, but, again, that's not necessarily going to change the season. I mean, I think my worries are, more than anything, is they're not going to get much offense, I think, out of Newman or even what's the guy Gonzalez they picked up from the Indians. Those guys don't give you much offense. Now, you may not need it from that position, but this team doesn't have a lot of boppers, at least in the past. So, if Marte gets back to what he was a couple of years ago and Polanco's fairly healthy and he can, and this was Moran's first full season. I'm not sure he's a 35-homer guy, but he's probably more than 11. I do think Frazier's going to be he'll play that position with will, and he's a bust-his-ass kind of guy, so hopefully he can duplicate his past offensive performance. And I actually think they're pretty deep at that catching position. Not too many teams can boast two guys that can come in and play and contribute like those two guys can. So, I mean, the bench is a little thin, but that's always going to be the case in Pittsburgh. But, I mean, I don't think the division is that great. I mean, I think the Cubs, this is where I think Epstein and Madden are starting to show their weakness. Tinkering too much. Who's the guy coming out of the pen today? Is Happ in center field, or is it – I mean, stop the changes. Stop showing what you know. Get somewhat of a set lineup and play it. I think that is a hot seat for Madden. I couldn't be happier either, but I think that Cubs team, just too many changes, too much screwing around with all the sabermetric stuff. The Cardinals' young players probably going to take a little step back. They got some good young arms, too. I mean, Schilt came in. They were terrible. We'll see if he can continue that for another season. Milwaukee's got some pretty damn good bats in some of those deals they made, but that pitching doesn't really scare me either. I mean, I think the division's a wide open one. I mean, I don't really think there's a dominant team in the NL. Maybe, again, the Dodgers return. Phillies moves, some of the Phillies moves, which I'll touch on in a minute, are a little bit better even than Harper, I think, in terms of that team's competitiveness. But I think I'm not sure they're going to win it, but I think this Pirate team's going to surprise some people. I could see a little bit of a bumpy start, just because of the league adjustments and stuff, and with Polanco not being in there and some other stuff. But I honestly think it's not that poorly constructed. And Archer, the only thing I'll say about Archer, though, Dave, that worries me, I can't tell if he's not a big dude. And I can't tell if he's lost like a mile and a half or a touch of movement or his ego's too big. It was hard to tell in Tampa, too. Like, I mean, you're right. In the second half of the season, he started keeping the ball down. He realized that was a pitcher's park. But, I mean, stop trying to throw it by somebody sometimes when you've got that kind of stuff. Like, I mean, I hope that he continues what he did.
When he's saying when he started listening to Cervelli goes to your point. Maybe the ego is too high.
He tries to kind of show off a little bit. He had that electric arm years ago, but he's not a huge man, and sometimes those little guys like that, like Martinez had that stretch of his career before he kind of rebounded after he left Montreal. Like, stop trying to, like, have the big balls. Like, pitch a little bit. And Archer sometimes I thought in Tampa was making that mistake, and I thought he was making a little bit when he first came to Pittsburgh. Is it ego, or is it just nobody's really telling him, move it around a little bit and keep it down, and then blow somebody away when the situation calls for it?
And
I'm worried a little bit about it.
He appears to be a good kid.
Pitchers,
He appears to be a good kid, so it might be that. And it might be that nobody took the time, and Cervelli was, when he started listening to Cervelli. But he was pretty damn dominant the last part of his tenure here.
But where he was coming out of, I mean, people can criticize Cash and Hickey or whoever the pitching coach is, but look at what they got out of a bunch of no-names. Now, Snell was highly regarded, but look at what they got out of these guys, Oh. So, I mean, you wonder, and it would be interesting to see, to me. I mean, I think small pitchers and catchers sometimes go quick, and I hope that's not the case because they gave up a lot for him. They gave up Glasnow's arm, and they gave up Meadows, who still looks to me like he could do something. So, you hope it's right. But if he's right, and he was what he was 3 or 4 years ago, that 1-2 is as good as anybody, including the Cubs. So, I think I think they're going to be in a little bit more contention than people realize, and I think, we're going to talk later about some of the arguments for money versus non-money. I think they're going to continue. I think they may surprise people and continue to make the argument that some of these big
I would agree, and I actually think Kramer's going to be a little better hitter than what you're thinking. I think he might not have it this year in a full rookie season, but I think the kid projects out to about a 280, 290 hitter, decent gap power. He's not going to hit you more than 10, 11 homers a game, but then again, neither really did Mercer.
Yeah, he's certainly going to catch the ball more. I mean, Jordy was a pretty stable guy, but he really didn't have a lot of range. This guy apparently has a lot. You guys see him more than I do, but apparently has a lot of range. And honestly, if he hits it all, I don't think this lineup's going to be a scary lineup that's just going to come in and bop, 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 blow people away. But I think in that park, leave Bell alone, Polanco healthy, if Marte's a little matured, hopefully. Dickerson's going to give you quite a bit, top of the order. They got some good left-right balance. You got a little bit of hustle in Frazier. I don't think this lineup's going to be anywhere near as weak as some of the national people say. I think the pitching, based upon last year, should be a little bit better. So I'm pretty optimistic, too. So Dave, you got 3 people standing behind, or 2 people standing behind you tonight. So.
There we go. Well, you have to be fired up about your proximity team.
Well, I mean, I think it's interesting, and this will lead into the next topic. The thing that frustrated me when they did it is I don't like phony form over substance BS. Okay,
yeah.
This is the losingest organization in pro sports, and their moves, other than a few drafts around 1998 to 2002, and then picking up, quite frankly, it's a huge city, 7 million people, picking up guys like Cliff Lee and Lidge and Halliday and stuff like that. I mean, this is an organization that has a real big history of losing, okay? And I'm tired of the place's chip on its shoulder. You know, in Philadelphia, everything's, nobody gives Philly any credit. Everybody hates us. Well, there's a lot of reasons for that. And I think Harper, I like Harper. A lot of people don't. He's going to give you 100 walks. He's going to give you 135 strikeouts, yeah, but he's going to get the bat on the ball in key situations. He's a pretty damn good outfielder, pretty damn good base runner, and he plays a lot of games.
He's a generational talent, don't you think?
Well, I mean, I that term, I'm not sure I think either one of these are. That would be another whole show altogether. I mean, I
don't know, man.
He's good. He's very good, and I think he's a lot better than a lot of people who are his detractors criticize him for. But I'm not sure I'm putting him in some of the, I'm going to say the generational talents we've seen before yet. I think my issue, Dave, that I was frustrated by is this is considered to be, and again, I'm probably going to lose some friends here, but I don't care. This is considered to be such a knowledgeable sports town. Nobody was talking about the other 4 moves, which are critical. They picked up the best catcher available in the National League. He's 25, 26 years old, has some pop in his bat. He's going to play 130 games in Real Muto. They traded for John Segura, who apparently is not a guy you want in the clubhouse very often, but every place he's been, Milwaukee, Seattle, he's hit, and he plays 150 games. They picked up McCutchen, who I'm not sure McCutchen's a leader or not. You guys have to speak to that, but they certainly need a little maturity around here, you know, based upon the way these it's kind of like the Flyers. They have a lot of highly regarded kids who can't perform on a consistent basis. I think McCutchen's going to alleviate that. And I don't know if Robertson is going to be the hammer that they think he is, but he's certainly got the stuff. They haven't had a guy like that here, a hammer like that, for a long time. Those 4 moves are every bit as big as the Harper, and nobody really talked about it. As soon as they signed Harper, all these fools are talking about, we're going to go to the World Series and stuff like that. I'm not really sure yet. I still think there's issues in this team. Lots of good young arms. They failed miserably, other than Nola down the stretch last year. Goofy manager, still making a lot of goofy decisions, still talking about stuff that nobody knows what the hell he's talking about. But I think the other moves they made are probably put them in a National League East favorite position, and then you put Harper in it, and it's a nice mix. I am not of the Tony Clark school. I don't think that this is a collusionary thing. I don't think that I'm just not there. I mean, that's a lot of money for one player. And the one guy, Bob Brookover, who writes here, who's actually pretty stable for the Inquirer, basically what he says, if you're going to spend that kind of money, even in a city of this size, you better win one. And you better be competitive getting into the playoffs he's probably not going to be here 10 years anyway, but you better get there 2 or 3 times in his prime of his tenure. And that is correct. I mean, I think the Phillies would have been in contention anyway without him. Would they have been as much of a favorite to win? Would they be as much of a threat as they are? Of course not. But I'm not a big fan of this. I mean, I think the San Diego one is even stupider to me. I mean, you got a team that's miles away that still can't spend any money, that the interest wanes, and you're spending even more money on a guy that's got plenty of issues, generational talent or whatever they want to call him or not. I'm on the Manfred side. I'm on the MLB owner's side. I'm on that side. I mean, and I'm certainly not saying that these guys don't deserve to get paid. Harper's not the only reason they're going to win this year. They're going to win this because they made some other good moves finally, and they decided to do something about it, as opposed to sit there. So, I mean, I like Harper. I mean, maybe that's where the market is, but if the Players Association thinks this is so much collusion and it's so unfair that these guys aren't going to get paid, I say baloney. Okay, $33 million in a league that has an average or a cap where you get a tax of $200. I mean, that's 15% of that cap. This damn guy better put you over the top, or that is a foolish-ass move, period, in my view. I think he will, but I think it's because of what they complemented around him. But I'm going to tell you this, guys, too. Look at what happened after July 15th. They got huge arms. Zach Eflin, this kid Vasquez. Arrieta had a damn good year. Nobody realized that last year. And Nola looks like the real deal. Nola's going to have some adjustment this year. League's going to look at him a little bit more, that kind of stuff. That bullpen was average at best. They got to get to Robertson. I mean, Don't be surprised if – I don't think this team's going to be 500, but don't be surprised if they're not winning 100 either, or not even close. Still issues. Still some issues, but far better team than they were a year ago. But that was before the $33 million splash.
And I would agree with that. And to me, would they have been better off with filling the hole for $33 million in their bullpen with 2 or 3 top-notch relievers that were on the market? That to me is where the fallacy of payroll comes in, which we'll kind of talk about now. Look, I understand why people get frustrated with this regime here in Pittsburgh. And, you know, I mean, even myself, I mean, I believe in that Kramer and Newman have opportunities to be special. Cole Tucker, out of the 3 of them, Cole Tucker really has an opportunity to do something good. That being said, they needed something up the middle at this point. I love Frazier. I love his bat, but you're putting that second baseman in a lineup where these kids need some defense up the middle. And he's going to be a 300 hitter, but a 300 slap hitting hitter. So I don't believe that you know, a guy like that, an organization like this shouldn't be spending more money to make a team like this better. This team has potential to make a playoff if you got some more offense. That being said, you don't need to spend $260 million. Manfred came out with that, and I kind of believe that. I don't think you need to spend that kind of money. And sometimes, and that's the problem with the long-term contract. That's the problem with what San Diego did. I mean, are they an appreciably better team because they bought Machado? I don't think so.
And for how many years are they not appreciably better? It's going to be a number.
Yeah, but here's the thing, Dave. What happened after they signed him? They sold $3 million more in tickets that next day than they had the year before.
But like with Ken Griffey Jr., when that happened in Cincinnati, it wasn't maintained because they didn't keep winning.
Well, you're right. You're right.
Well, I agree with you. I think that's a great point, Fletch. I do.
Well, but let me add that, Dave. That was my frustration here. They show these idiots sitting on their stoop, not a brain in their head. Oh, man, I got to go down and buy tickets now. Well, why? Would you tell me why? Like, I mean, we're in such a media-centric world with all these idiots that the Steelers moved and some stuff like that these people fall for this. Harper's a huge name. He is the kind of mentality here with dirt on his uniform and stuff that'll fit here. And he would fit in Pittsburgh kind of place, too. But I mean, that kind of stuff is a short-term fix to me. You know, the Padres, I don't think they're necessarily moving because, you know, that stadium's a pretty good deal from what I understand, and it's a beautiful area, so guys will always want to play there. California baseball is a big deal, but yeah, okay. I mean, that's fine. You sold some tickets this year. That does add to revenue. If it changed the TV contract, that would be bigger. But you got to continue to sustain it. So, you know, if he hits 310 and hits 35 home runs and drives in 90 runs, but they lose 95, I guarantee you that September the place is going to be a ghost town. So, I mean, it's a short-term fix for not taking care of a long-term problem to me.
Let me go on the other end. What happened with the Pirates when they certainly had the fallout from McCutchen and Cole?
Mm-hmm.
Did they really draw good crowds, even though they got Archer and Cale at the end? Drew better. Yeah. I don't think they drew good. So maybe on the other end, for the Pirates to get interest back in this team, playing devil's advocate, maybe that's $30 million would have been something they needed to do to drop people back.
To me, it goes back to what you say, Dave, and maybe you guys have both said, and I'm not out there like you guys are, but Nutting gives the impression that he's on the wrong side of this. I don't really want to spend any money. I don't have to. Well, you do have to spend something, and you have to look at where you're weak, whether it was the shortstop position, or to me, I thought it was another starter. I just have the feeling that Talion and Williams will struggle a little bit through maybe June 15th, perhaps. I do think both of them can pitch. I think Talion's really talented, but they're going to struggle a little bit because the league's going to make an adjustment, whatever. I would have gone for another arm, too, like another number 3 that is going to give you 180 innings or something. But Nutting just keeps this rhetoric, from what I read from afar, that it's giving people the wrong impression. So I think there's a middle ground. But I also think that both in Philadelphia attention, here's the thing I always say to people here, and then they think about it. They look up in the sky. Pittsburgh has, 1.7 million metropolitan area, something like that, or maybe 2 million. Is that what it is?
It's over 2 million.
And they're drawing 25,000 a night, right? Philadelphia has 6.8 million people, and it's drawing 25,000 a night. So who's got the bigger problem? Okay? So, I think some of this was like, look at my shiny new car in the driveway. All right? I really do. I think it's a lot of bullshit. Okay, this guy Middleton's kind of a blowhard that wants to be considered Steinbrenner South and all this kind of nonsense. Harper can clearly play. He's going to be a fit here. He certainly can turn a franchise. How much is one player who's not a pitcher going to win you? How many games is he going to change the picture? 10? Well, they only won 82, so that means they're 92. They're in the mix for kind of a playoff spot, but they're bouncing around with a lot of other people. So, and I thought San Diego was the exact same thing. I think San Diego's interest had waned to the point that nobody really gave a damn at all. They did have a lot of money available. Do you think you're going to get some other people there? They got some other advantages that a Philadelphia doesn't have, but I'm just not convinced that long term that this is a solution. I think you're better off building like we always talk about, just build your franchise, build your organization, keep pumping people out. And I'm not going to talk the whole time here. I think I'll just say this. I think where Clark is wrong, and I think where Manfred is right. Again, Tampa plays in a dome. The ball does not carry. It sounds like you're hitting the ball with a wet paper bag. It doesn't really carry. Oakland plays in the biggest ballpark in the majors. It's very cold. 60% of the games, there's huge foul territory. A lot of their kids look a lot better because of the conditions that they play in. I just think that they may have been a little bit of an aberration, but they're not the only ones. Pittsburgh, St. Louis got rid of a lot of big money guys and continue to do it in the off season. There's other ways to win here without having to spend this ridiculous amount of money. And I think a lot of people don't want to hear that. They just don't. They're thinking next year.
But I don't disagree with you. And Fletch, you've been in both markets. You've spent time in Los Angeles where they spend a lot of money, and Lord knows you fell in love with this franchise that really has gotten into trouble every time it has spent money over the course of its history. With the Galbraith group trying to keep that team together, ended up almost going bankrupt, and certainly the Caligiuri group with the same. What's your take on this?
Well, we can say that money doesn't matter, but guys, it really does. If you look at since 2015, if you look at sustained winning records, so that's like, let's say 84 wins or more, the magic number seems to be 140 million. 6 of the 8 teams that had that average payroll of at least 140 million were successful. If you get up to 150 million, there are 8 teams that did that. 5 of them were incredibly successful, a minimum of 89 wins per season. So there is some correlation. Here's where the problem lies, is the way that this last collective bargaining session was set up. The players giving up the control that they did, they want to make that money at the end. They're under team control for 6 years before they are able to get that big number. At that time, it's not a good investment.
No.
For a lot of them.
Right.
I don't think it was collusion that held a lot of these guys out. It's people looking around and say, wait a minute, at this age, it just doesn't make sense to spend that kind of money. I think that the other problem we have with all of this too is that just the inequity in there, and we've talked about this before with the TV contracts. So a lot of the resources that some of the bigger teams have in terms of scouting, in terms of player development, that's really what's winning the games. Although, I mean, the payroll doesn't hurt, but it looks to me that just from looking at the numbers that sweet spot is between 140 and 150 million. And here's the thing, guys. Do you know the most expensive wins? They're the wins that get you from 85 to 90 wins. Those are the ones that's the payroll that's going to kill you, because that's where you need to be. And that's going to get you in the playoff situation.
That's what. What would you guys think if part of the new speaking towards that, part of the new agreement, which to me I can't understand why the players wouldn't push for this because it would mean more money, is maybe with a salary cap, maybe okay, you can leave it at a $250 for a high end, but to have a floor $120 million salary.
Absolutely. You can't have a ceiling without a floor.
Have you heard one argument from Clark or anybody else about the fact that there's no minimum? You haven't heard that. And here's the thing. If I was Clark, I would be railing about San Diego. I wouldn't be glorifying it. I'd say, listen, why can they pay this money to this one guy? Because they didn't spend anything for 5 years. I mean, it's a ridiculous situation. And if you had the floor, as you've said 1,000 times, both of you guys, and Dave, you especially, then you don't have that situation arising. I mean, some of the fans in San Diego are going to say, well, what the hell is going on here? Now we pay all this money to one guy. Yeah, he's going to put some butts in the seats. What were you doing the last 4 years? Why is this guy Jankowski hitting third for the last 2 years? I mean, what's going on here?
Well, the other thing that happened is that now the larger teams have picked up on some of the things that the Pirates did and some of the other small market teams that they were forced to do to be competitive. And now they have that plus the higher payrolls,
the ability,
plus the higher that. So I mean, it's an unfair system, but I think, guys, we're coming to a strike. There's no way there's not going to be a strike.
And I would say there needs to be one.
Only if it corrects things. The last baseball strike did not, and that was the problem with that one.
They were pussies.
Well,
the NHL should be
criticize themselves, and I mean that.
Well, the
players.
The NHL strike, the last NHL strike, should be what leagues and players look for. It not only got the players more money, but it corrected the situation.
Right.
And to me, one of the things that correct the situation is to bring. Although I like my dynasties, don't get me wrong, because you need somebody to hate in the play, so to speak. But if 12 teams are going into this every year tanking because of the way the system's set up,
it doesn't work.
Not good.
It doesn't work.
Too many
right.
games.
And Fletcher, you're right. 85 to 89 is the most expensive wins to get, and those little by little, a lesser team's going to pop in there every so often, but Los Angeles is going to be there. The Yankees are going to be there. The Red Sox are going to be there. We're not far away from becoming a Premier League situation, whereas you only have 4 or 5 teams every year out of 20 that can win the damn championship, and the only thing that makes the Premier League interesting for the other teams is you have that relegation zone, which is like a secondary pennant race in a weird way.
Yeah.
Because people
we don't want to see a return of the 1950s, where if you weren't in New York, you weren't going to win.
Right. The trouble is, though, the conditions are different. Like in that soccer league, that's like football. That's got a draw. That'll always have a draw, despite the miss.
But it's that way because there is absolutely no structure to it. They put a little structure in this year, but. I love Liverpool, and I'm happy they're part of the halves, but, I mean, they can spend millions upon millions of dollars that a team like a Watford could never match them with.
Well, we criticize Manfred. Let's see what kind of man he is here. He needs to get the owners in a room, and he needs to have them almost pit against each other. I mean, if I'm somebody in, like, the middle of the road, I'm pushing for the floor. If I'm in the small market, I'm pushing for the floor. And the big ones that don't want to do it, I'd say, listen, kiss my ass. Okay, we're not going to have
the small ones aren't pushing for it because the small ones are making buku bucks.
They're the most profitable.
They are, and that's the problem with the fact that you don't have the minimums. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, the Pirates are profitable before the season even starts.
Yeah.
He's going to push. And I'm sorry, if I'm in Philadelphia and you're in Pittsburgh, I'm sorry, Mr. Nutting, you're going to have to spend a certain amount. You got into this business. I don't want to hear it. This isn't a return-driven business solely. Okay, you're still sharing in the TV money. You're sharing in the postseason money. All this nonsense. I don't want to hear it. Okay, and if you're so return-driven, you got such weak partners, then get out. Okay,
yeah, there's a cost of doing business, people, and this is what the cost is. I mean, you go back to why the NFL has succeeded so well. It was Pete Rozell's leadership in making sure that the revenues were distributed evenly. And that is what enabled that league to take off. And
because inevitably it made money for everybody.
Everybody wins.
Yeah. I mean,
those games don't have an acceptance problem either, gentlemen. Baseball's got a lot of public relations issues. Well, I don't agree with it, even with all this
doing research on the latest book we're doing. The one thing that kept coming out to me was until the mid-'70s, Art Rooney was no better off financially than the Pirates were at that point. They were always talking about having to move. They were always talking about how much. Pete Rozell made the Art Rooneys of the world rich beyond their wildest dreams.
Right.
Yep.
But I
will pay attention to season shorter, 16 games, partying, fun. Baseball, you're playing 162. It's a long, grinding season.
Well,
you got the slowness of the game.
They need to understand they may be making money now, but down the road there is problems.
Yep.
Baseball is when your viewership on TV is down significantly, and you're talking about drops in attendance of 5%. I don't want to hear that April was cold. There were other problems. It didn't magically return after it got warmer.
It's true.
Well, guys, I think you need the strike, and I think it needs to correct itself.
Yeah. And Manfred's got to be what Bettman did, and he's got to do what Rozell did. I don't want to hear it. Rozell, if you read the book on Rozell, if you guys have it, it's pretty dry. But Rozell was willing to tangle with the big and the strong as well as the weak. Okay, This guy hasn't shown that propensity. I mean, he's screwing around. I don't give a shit if the players don't like the clock. You're taking it. Okay, that's the one place he's got the power to do it. You're taking it. Shut up. Get in the box.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
This guy needs to be a little less
touchy-feely.
And you got to tell Nutting, look, if you can't do business here and you can't afford it, then get out of it. Sell it to somebody else. Okay?
Exactly.
And
I'm
sorry, New York, you can't dominate like this. It's not going to work.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
So, it's that simple.
But, well, I will tell you one story before we get on our next section, and this made me chuckle a little. There was a county commissioner when they were dealing with the Three River things, as I was doing with my research, named McClelland, who was against giving money for the stadium. And eventually he got voted down. The county ended up giving money, and he was giving a bitter speech about the game because he was pissed off. And he said, "The games are getting too long. It's rare that a game is under 2 hours anymore." Would McClelland be rolling around in his grave at this point to see 3 and 4 hours games?
He's fallen asleep by now, Dave.
Oh, man.
That one you went to last year, the Philly game in Pittsburgh, 4 hours and 12 minutes. It was 9 innings. What the hell is going on here?
Yeah.
Oh, that was not the greatest look of baseball.
Too long. Way too long. Speed it up.
I mean, they need to make some adjustments, but not change the game.
But the financial stuff is even more important, and I'm hoping Manfred's going to be a warrior here. He's not going to kiss the ass off a couple big, powerful organizations, Dodgers, Cubs.
If they need to lose a year, lose a year.
Yeah. So,
Rich, you'll be watching.
That's right.
Are you willing to watch tennis over a course of a summer to make up for it?
Oh, my
Fix
God.
the game. Are you willing to do that?
I'll watch The Bachelor before I watch tennis.
Oh, I'll tell you what, Viv and Kara are watching that right now, And this guy's pretty sad because he can't date more than one girl at a time. It's not in him.
Well, you're like the Sammy Hagar. He can't drive 55.
Oh, my. Fletch, what's your event of the week?
Well, since we're on baseball, I've got two baseball stories that are just rife with hypocrisy and all the things that are awful about the game. And one of them involves our legendary hero, Roberto Clemente.
Okay.
That the illegal regime in Nicaragua is trying to put together this baseball series between the Puerto Rican baseball team and the Nicaraguan baseball team at a time when things in Nicaragua are just awful. I mean, there's people who have no power, who have no water, and he's trying to use this as a political thing, and they haven't even involved the Clemente family. They're doing this around the Clemente family. They're using Roberto's likeness and all of this, and it just stinks to high heaven.
Yeah.
That's number one. That just irks me beyond belief.
Yeah, I understand.
And then there's baseball cozying up to the gamblers. They're working with DraftKings. They're working with all these other ones. And remember, this is a sport where Bowie Kuhn kicked out both Mickey Mantle and Willie Mays for being greeters in Atlantic City.
In Atlantic City, yeah.
This is a sport that has basically exiled Pete Rose because he gambled. And now they're getting into the gambling business. That, my friends, is hypocrisy.
That's troubling. That is troubling.
I'm with you. I wouldn't acknowledge it at all. I mean,
is this the thing where they need to put the lineup in early enough?
Yes.
So people.
Yes.
Yeah. There was
so they could set the lines.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have even done it. That shows how dopey he is and some of that leadership in New York. I mean, baseball's a hard
commissioner in the game.
I agree with you, Fletcher. What a disgrace.
But here's the thing about Pete Rose. Even though he bet on the game, he wanted to win every single game. So he's a complex character, no doubt.
Yeah.
I'm not excusing what he did, but this just is you can't have it both ways, guys.
It's a good one. I agree with you.
I absolutely agree with you too.
Enough history into sports history too. Anybody before 1920's got a little bit of a stink about him.
Yeah.
Too. Hall of Fame and everything else. You're right. It's almost the clueless bureaucrat's view.
Making them what, Dave? What are they?
They're bushers.
Bushers, yeah, they're right.
Yeah. And who's our sponsor for Busher of the Week?
Oh, Manfred. He's
very nice.
We're gonna Lactaid is gonna sponsor this week's Busher of the Week. Lactaid.
Nicaraguan government's a close horse second in a race, the way it sounds too. So.
Oh yeah. Oh, that would piss me off. I hadn't heard that story, but that would piss me off. But Mr. Gary, your story of the week.
I know it's going to sound like I'm personal or juvenile here, but I say thank God the Steeler organization turned the page. I am so sick and tired
brother.
About Brown and all his ridiculous non-English tweets and how he was so wrong. Get the hell out. Goodbye. Go to a place that went 2-12 or whatever the hell they went.
Yeah.
Goodbye.
You want to win.
Never hear of him again. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, he's there with another egomaniac in Gruden who, quite frankly, has come back and has done nothing. Alienated every quality player they had and everything else,
Then off one of the best defensive players in the game.
Babying quarterback crybaby about Kellerman and that clown Smith criticized. I mean, who would even acknowledge that nonsense? Like, I mean, he's in the right kind of place. He's in there with a bunch of egomaniac idiots who haven't won anything and moved to Las Vegas. Not sure it'll change. How many years have it been since they've been competitive? I mean, in a way, I'm kind of glad that's where he went. When I never hear of the guy. And honestly, I'm glad the other guy's going too. So right. I mean, it's been forever. I mean, that organization at one time was a model organization. I mean, they were a bunch of smoking renegades, everything else. But at least they were interesting and they were good. They haven't been good.
It's a lot harder for a team to go that long without a 500 season in a salary cap situation than it is for the Pirates to do it. They're a lot harder.
How bad the situation has been, I agree. So,
that's just,
and I'm glad Jerry Rice thinks he's so wonderful. Good for you, Jerry. Let's see what happens when they're again. Maybe they'll go to 313, or whatever the hell, or 315, or whatever the hell they were. But I mean, I'm just glad the guy's gone. I got so sick and tired of listening to it. Maybe I'm a 50s guy. I don't know, but I'm glad the other one's gone too. I mean, again, going to an organization that also hasn't had a clue in a long time. So, maybe they'll be motivated and have great years. But I think, I don't know. I'm not even a Pittsburgh guy originally. I spent the years out there. Still love the place. The place, that logo, that steel logo on the one side of the helmet had a cachet. We don't need this nonsense. Are they going to be as good? I doubt it. Schuster doesn't have the same explosiveness. I mean, I think, unfortunately, the running back's names escape me. Good story, but he's injured a lot. They're not going to be as good. Yeah, Connor. They're not going to be as good. Fans are going to complain. Some of the fans that just want media entertainment and Kardashian type of entertainment. But let's restore that organization to the pantheon it had. Getting rid of these two idiots is the first place to start. Now, they may not have gotten enough the way it looks to me, but unfortunately, when you let the inmates run the asylum, you're not going to get as much back as you should. So,
you know what, Gary? I think it's addition by subtraction. And here's the other thing: they've got some extra picks that they can package to move up. So I don't have a problem with it.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with it either, Fletcher. Listen, if you can tell the tone of my voice, I am sick and tired. The NFL and the NBA have turned me off with some of this kind of nonsense. I mean, it's a team game. They're organizations with a lot of history. I'm tired of this kind of focus on these egomaniac individuals. Okay, is Brown a great receiver? Yes. Is he in the top pantheon of NFL history? Yeah, statistically might be because the game's changed. He's nowhere near some of the great receivers in the league's history, primarily because of his behavior. And I'm damn glad that finally Rooney at least had the stones to say, you know what, we're done. We're moving on. I still think they got some issues with Roethlisberger, as you guys have said. Got some age. You got a lot of pieces to fill. Probably not going to be as good or as entertaining. Start the road. Turn the road.
Now, let me just tell you the one thing. They never went to a Super Bowl without a good defense.
Yep.
And that's where you need to start to change the philosophy back.
Totally agree. Totally agree.
So this team has, to me, and I've said it here many times, it's not been a Super Bowl contender like people say it is with a defense like that. Can't be done.
My moment of the week is maybe we start the path back to this is the Pittsburgh Steelers. This isn't the Kardashians on E-Network. Let's move on. Okay? I agree with that's my moment.
Nice.
So, but
Big Daddy, what you got?
Well, I was off today, and my boys from Liverpool were in the Champions League tussle in the Sweet 16 to the death. It's a two-leg event where they have aggregate goals is what the winner is in the two games, a home and home series. And they went scoreless at Anfield in Liverpool. They were traveling to Bayern Munich, one of the great teams in soccer, who was on an incredible hot streak lately. But do you think that stopped Big Red? No, it didn't. Just three incredible goals, toppled Bayern, who just had to be devastated in front of their home crowd. And nothing's better than at the end of a game to look up and see the home crowd, or nothing but empty seats in the home crowd of a playoff. The Champions League is the biggest event in the European soccer, and Liverpool is now going to the quarterfinals. So I
better start practicing.
Exactly. You'll never walk alone, my friend. You'll never walk alone. But Gary, what's your prediction of the week? I love this part of it too, because you're going to come up with a good one today.
Well, I mean, actually, this week I actually have one because I don't know that much, and you guys are far more well-rounded and interesting than me. But I actually have a pretty good one this time, and I don't know if I'll buy it, and I'm not even sure I will anymore because with the change in technology and these apps, and I don't have the smart TVs yet, but I'll be getting them soon, hopefully, if I can ever find the time. You don't really need to buy pay-per-views anymore, but there's a very interesting bout coming up this weekend for one of the rare times anymore. There's a lot of BS out there, a lot of posturing, just like everything else. But two guys are going to get in there. And there's a lot of drama to it. You got a guy by the name of Mike Garcia out of California, boxing family. Guys won titles at weight classes all the way up from featherweight at 126 to 140. He's blowing everybody away. He's clearly talented. He's beating everybody they put in front of him. He says, listen, I'm going to do what they did in the old days. I'm going to go up and fight a guy who's much bigger than me. So he's going to go up and fight at 147, even though most of this guy's career has been spent at 135 lightweight. Very, very good, very talented. A little bit, a typical Mexican fighter gets hit a little bit, just very good condition. But he's going to fight a guy by the name of Earl Spence out of Dallas, who's a big, long Tommy Hearns type of welterweight. A lot of guys don't want to take him on because he's not all that well known unless you follow boxing, but he's got a lot of talent. He's taken it, I think, surprisingly, because he's got to lose. If he only wins, the old story. If he only wins a little bit dominant, you're going to say, well, he beat up a smaller guy. And if he loses, you're going to say, well, he wasn't really that good. But he's taken it because money talks. But it's a very interesting pay-per-view. It's actually on Fox pay-per-view, which is something very unusual because it's a Premier Boxing Champions Al Haven promotion. Not the
home of the new Rob Lowe game show, but go ahead.
Yeah, right. Well, I'll have to tune in for that one, too.
I figured.
Yeah, but my point is I think this is a very interesting fight. They priced it too high again, but this main event has a lot of intrigue because Garcia's a volume puncher. He's a pretty hard hitter, and he's a no-neck guy. Taking a good career and putting it at risk by going to fight a bigger guy and make it blown away in 60 seconds, I doubt it. I think it's going to be a pretty good fight. I'm not sure it's going to be, Duran, Leonard, even Hagler, Hearns. So I think it's got a lot of intrigue to it, and I'm probably thinking I'm going to lean to buy it. So, but my prediction is Spence is going to be too big. Boxing's a little bit like hockey, like I always tell you, Dave. You got some size, you got some grit. A little hard to overcome it. Garcia's a lot smaller. I just can't see him really beating a much bigger guy. He's probably going to come in 10, 12 pounds over, but I think it's going to be damn competitive for a while. It's going to be an interesting bout. But I pick Spence, and I actually think the pay-per-view will be pretty well purchased because those who still follow boxing, these names are well known, and they're both high-talented, high-level guys. So my prediction is Spence, but it's going to be a pretty good pay-per-view, and it's going to do a little better than some of the general media says it's going to. So
outstanding. Fletch.
Well, guys, there are two things that you could.
Can I tell you one thing first before you get into it, Fletch?
Go ahead.
Michael Simon, as I look at him, he's a no-neck guy too.
I'm watching it, Dave. I'm watching it right now.
There's no neck on this guy.
No. I got my picture taken with him once. It was like we were separated at birth, fellas.
So what do you got, Fletch? Sorry for the interruption.
Oh, no. There are two things that define me.
Yeah.
I love a good upset.
Yeah.
And I think that Jim Boeheim's a jagoff. So you put
agree.
those two things together, and I think for the first time this season, Dave, Pitt solves that 2-3 zone, and they upset Syracuse in this game tonight. That's my prediction. I think that they're gonna move the ball around, they're gonna kick it out, and they're gonna be hot from 3-point land, and they're gonna come home with a win. And you know what that sets up? It sets up a game against Duke. How about that?
Oh. Well,
Master and his apprentice.
Oh, that would be kind of cool. It'd be better if he figures out how to beat his apprentice, but his mentor. But
let's not get carried away. Let's just enjoy the moment.
I like it. Oh man. Well, now you got me fired up to watch that game now.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah.
Oh man. Well, let me tell you, I was going to start out predicting Duquesne coming away with their 20th win tomorrow against St. Joseph's, which I think they will do fairly easily. But I'm going to predict something else. We were talking earlier about, the girl from Lori Loughlin, the girl from
the bribery thing,
the house thing, Bob Saget.
Pool house.
Bob Saget was a kinder, gentler guy than he is now.
Is she the girlfriend? Is the girlfriend?
No, it was Jesse's wife.
Wife. Okay, Stamus's wife.
Girlfriend at first,
okay.
but then the wife.
Right. Okay.
So her and the Felicity Huffman, who from, people say something about a wives show. I look at her as a sports night star. I don't know if you remember that show.
I love that show.
I don't.
It's a great show.
I don't. Yeah.
Oh,
but
Gary,
anyway,
You got to find
her
it.
from the show, though.
Sports Night is find it on YouTube. Watch a couple episodes. It's on Hulu if you get that.
Okay.
But, they were, of course, arrested in the Stanford bribing trial. And there's another one that's coming up, and I predict it's going to be even worse. And it's going to involve Kevin Bacon, one of your favorites because of the Bacon last name. He's about to get arrested because I heard there is now a controversy at Faber College.
Oh!
Trying to bribe his son's way into Faber College. You remember their saying at Faber College, don't you, Fletch?
Oh, knowledge is good, Dave.
Knowledge is good?
Knowledge is good.
So I know John Belushi would be rolling in his grave if he knew somebody was going to his alma mater, Faber College, and didn't earn his way there. Because, gentlemen, what kind of grade point average is Kevin Bacon's son going to get by making it illegally?
0.0.
Exactly. And he's going to be told, dumb, fat,
drunk, and stupid is no way to go through life, son.
Thank you. That is my prediction. That is what you'll be reading about in the next week. Kevin Bacon.
What did Laughlin and Huffman do? I only heard this on the news briefly. What did they
bribed Stanford officials at Stanford, not only, or was it Yale? One of the two.
Yeah.
Part of a big ring to not only get their kids in there by having people take tests for them, but they bribed coaches apparently in some sports at these schools.
I heard that a little bit.
Have their kids get on the team, and the coaches took the money. And apparently there's like kids on the Yale's rowing team who can't row.
Can't even row, yeah.
Well, what they did, here's the thing that's just even so amazing about it.
College sports just gets prettier and prettier, doesn't it?
Is that they actually superimposed people's heads on actual crew members.
I heard that.
I mean, come on, guys. We know that this shit's been going on in terms of you make a donation, your kid gets in, But whenever whenever there's fraud around it, that's when they stuck in. But here's the other thing that happened. It was, I think a lot of this was politically driven, that it was trying to really go after that so-called Hollywood elite with this whole thing.
Yeah, money.
And something doesn't smell right on this, and I think there's going to be more to this story.
Well, I agree with you. The FBI has gotten into a lot of strange things lately,
too, which is bizarre, right? So, I mean, some of it's odd. I mean, it's really odd stuff. College sports just can't get out of its pimples. Well, no matter what.
I'm pissed at my family over this whole thing. They could have spent $500,000 to get me into Yale. They could have opted to do that, but they chose not to.
Well, I told you before, Fletch. I spent every money change I had at Duquesne, plus a year's supply of rice-a-roni to try to get you into the Evelyn Wood speed reading course.
Well, it is truly the San Francisco treat. So how could they say no to that?
San Francisco treat. Oh, I think I tried Eskimo pies first. But that didn't work. I thought the rice-a-roni would be the way to go. But you never
Clearly it was.
Clearly it was. But I don't want you thinking I didn't try.
Well, I appreciate it.
So why are they being busted federally? Because what do they do, like idiots wire them?
Mail fraud.
Okay. So not only do they do this.
Well, the other part of it, too, is I think a lot of this was made as 501c3 contributions. So, yeah. It just stinks. The whole thing
stinks. It's a stinky thing. When you have that kind of money, you have other ways to buy somebody into a college. I'm going to put it on the moron list to get involved in.
I agree. How could you be so stupid? You could have done this a lot of different ways that wasn't so idiotic.
Well, that's why I was asking a question about how did they actually get nailed for the mail? So many other ways you could have done this. You dope. Both sides. These coaches in a swim team or whatever the hell. What are you doing?
It's Jesse's wife, for God's sake. Who would have thought?
Yeah.
Who would have thought? Oh my God!
But here's the best thing about that. She's married to William Macy. He didn't know this was going on. Can you imagine that dinner conversation?
It's going to be an interesting dinner tonight, isn't it?
Well, he's going to be sorry he appeared on Sports Night, which is where they met.
That is true. I forgot that's how they met.
Yeah. Gary wouldn't know that because he hasn't watched Sports Night.
Gary, it is one of the great shows of all time.
It is. And the people that started their careers there, they were all new when they started.
Yep.
It's an amazing collection.
Was on that show.
She was the lead.
That's right.
And there was the guy who was on 6 Feet Under. That's where he got started.
Yeah.
Oh, the lead guy. Okay.
Yeah.
It was a way to get some Hollywood attention.
Yeah, he also had Robert Guillaume. Your favorite from, what was it, Benson?
He was. Who didn't like Benson? Who didn't like Benson? Gary, don't tell me you didn't watch Benson.
I probably did there. I kind of was probably looking at the hockey news concurrently while my mom was watching it or something.
There you go.
Yeah. I'm not very well-rounded, Dave. This is nothing new to you. Right. You know this. Okay.
Well, you need to find Sports Night because you'll like it.
All right.
Yeah.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah.
So did it have Jane Kennedy on it?
Jane Kennedy? No, there's last. She tried to get her. Remember Beloit College from National Lampoon fame?
Oh yes.
Yeah, Wisconsin.
That's where she tried to get. That's why Jane Kennedy is no longer on TV. She tried to bribe somebody to put her kid into Beloit College.
You're serious?
Well, only to be killed in a kiln explosion.
Kiln accident, in a tragic kiln accident. It was tragic, I tell you. Oh,
remember how she used to give the scores? Dallas and Minnesota, 23-21. Remember?
I do. She was no Phyllis George, Gary. She was no Phyllis George.
Another one. That's right.
Yeah.
I forgot about her.
Yeah.
But she's no Susie Colbert, because we all want to kiss Susie Colbert. We all do.
We do. That's why you wanted to be Joe Willie Namath because of his football acumen. I wanted to be Joe Willie Namath because I wanted to tell Susie Colbert I wanted to kiss her.
Well, here's the thing that's beautiful about that. There's actually a website called KissingSusieColbert.com. It's a sports website.
Jesus Christ. Bet she's all that thrilled about that. But yeah, it's interesting.
Well, I hope that guy's making a profit.
She's quite a bit transformed over the last 20 years.
Yeah.
You know? You look at her picture.
I said it once, I'll say it again. She's no Phyllis George.
No. She's no Pam Oliver either.
No.
Oh, not even in Pam Oliver's ballpark.
But here's
right,
one more thing before we wrap up.
Please.
It's a little philosophical thing.
Please.
If Stan Stavron were a woman, he would not be on TV because he's so damn ugly. I love the man. I think he's good at what he does.
But you just shot our chance to get on TV and have a video.
Well, let me tell you, Stan Stavron's no Phyllis George.
No.
If I can make that statement.
He's more George Costanza than Phyllis George.
But he's kind of Henry VIII out there, Fletch. He kind of shot us in the foot for about 5 years here, you know. Dave's been talking to him and getting to know him, and Fletch, you just kind of shot us right in the foot.
I'm going to tell Stan not to listen to the last few minutes of the show.
Yeah.
Exactly. Read our books. Right.
Although, can I tell you one thing before we go? If you turn on the cooking channel now, this guy in this one smoker, this rudimentary smoker, has 18 racks of ribs up.
I'm watching it, Dave. I'm watching it.
Edgar Penley, executive chef of the Urban Grub.
Urban Grub. I don't know if I want to go to a place called Urban Grub.
You wouldn't. You would. I don't know what the hell he's boiling in there, but, you know, the racks of ribs and the kielbasa at the end.
Oh.
I'm just curious what the hell he's doing here. He looks like he's doing a seafood boil plus ribs. Gary, you got to get on this cooking network.
I have one other thing to add. If I'm
Okay.
Matt Murray, I'm holding up a big finger. All of you, be quiet. Look at what I'm doing the last 2 weeks.
I'm with you,
You know
Gary.
what? Can I bring some marital trouble into your house, Gary?
We still don't get any support for him. So
you tell that to your wife, who despises Murray.
I know.
She despises him, I tell you.
I know it.
Oh man.
Most of the 90% of
tell him they made the right move. He was awesome last night.
mean, the last 2 weeks, the guy's been just down.
You know, he'll still give up that ugly goal once a night.
Every now and then.
That's going to happen.
Okay.
But you know what? He stops a hell of a lot more than he gives up.
But, I mean, for a guy who has really kind of, recovered completely this year, and there's no chance they even come close to winning without him, I thought he was sensational, even in the loss against Columbus. And last night.
What the hell is he doing there, Fletch?
So,
oh, my God.
He's
putting kimchi on there. He's putting kimchi on there.
Say it ain't so. Say it
oh, my
ain't
God.
So. Wow. Yeah, I would agree with you. You tell your wife that Fleury sucks, and that with Fleury with this defense in front of him would be worse.
Well, let me give you guys one thing that you guys are going to have to deal with out there, and it's going to become primarily from the women who wear the Penguin jerseys.
Yeah,
there is a
with
good chance he's going to get quite a bit of MVP. You realize he's going to get a bunch of MVP votes?
Yeah, he will.
I mean, he's in the MVP mix. I mean, with all Kucherov's points, he's probably going to win it. But Fleury's going to be in the mix.
He's played a hell of a lot of games this year.
Yeah, I mean,
he's
been sensational. Now he's going to wear down. I don't know what the hell Gallant's thinking, but
let's figure out if he would put kimchi on a seafood boil.
Oh my goodness!
Fleury needs to eat some of those for the stretch drive. I think that's what he needs.
Guy's in heaven right now. He's in heaven. You need to find the cooking channel, Gary, and you need to watch this.
His eyes just rolled back up into his head eating that.
I don't see him now. I think you're right. Ooh, the crawfish. There's a proper way to eat a crawfish. But
you got to suck the head, boys. Got to suck the head. There it goes.
Oh, my God.
Suck the head. There you go.
There goes the FCC, Dave.
Oh, my gosh. You wouldn't see this in the 70s. Oh, my God. Oh, there it goes. Crawfish done. Oh, man. All right, gentlemen. You have a great evening.
Fun night. You too. Talk to you.
All right, guys. Take care.
Bye.
The proceeding was a Comfortably Zoned Radio Network production. Thank you for listening.